Hey everyone, this is your Minion the East, and welcome to technically the official first vlog I'll be putting out for the next couple of weeks. Technically, my first vlog was my thoughts and initial review of a past Nintendo Direct, since that one that didn't go well and then I was being an idiot and the microphones didn't work. But anyway, this will be a short series of vlogs I'll be doing about my experiences here in Japan. And since I'm studying abroad, I might as well just do these weekly vlogs to get my mind off of things and hopefully get some feedback on some of you and what I could do. I didn't record last week since my internet still wasn't set up completely, so I couldn't record. So I'll briefly go over my previous week on when I first got here up until last week, up till now. So I got my little journal here, so I at least don't feel like I'm going to be missing out on anything here. This gives me a bit of thing to start with. But anyway, I might as well just start at the start of what I want to do. First of all, what is the reason why I chose Japan of any other place I wanted to study abroad? The simplest, it's been my dream since I was a kid. True, I can just say that because I like the culture and anime is the more obvious one, but I've been really intrigued about them and anything else I could think about them other than anime for as long as I can remember. So after a pretty painful paper process that took many months, I think almost half a year's worth of work and dedication to get this going, I was finalized for my flight in March, and I was getting ready to pack and spending the rest of my so-called summer break, or my extended winter break. So at the end of March, I was all packed up, getting ready to leave, say goodbye to my family, and had said goodbye to my friends before I left as well, and I was on my flight to Japan. Now, getting through Japan as well, it was a very long flight, about 13 hours for the first trip. That was a bit difficult, because I think for many people who have experienced going abroad, they would have experienced jet lag with the different hour differences that you'll have. For example, I live in America, Central Standard Time, and I was adjusting to Japan time, which is from there about 14 hours ahead and mostly a day ahead. So I wanted to make sure I got enough sleep when I was on the flight. So when I finally got on the plane, the first thing I decided to do was just watch a movie, pass the time. And the entire time we were going, it was daytime. So basically, our flight was racing the sun up until we got to Tokyo. And I tried getting the best sleep as I can, about 6 hours worth, and even then it was still cramped, a bit uncomfortable, and I was trying the best I can to get to at least rest my head, because I couldn't even rest my head behind my seat. I couldn't even pull my seat back to make sure I rest. I had to put my head down like this on a serving table for most of the flight to get sleep. So when I finally got to Tokyo, it was about 3 in the afternoon there, and I left at 12:10 noon, well, close to a little past noon when I originally left, and so I was now a day ahead, 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Tokyo. So I was a little sluggish, but not completely tired, but more like I just woke up from bed. So I had to find my way to get to my next flight to get to Fukuoka, so I would be able to get to my university. This was actually the more difficult part for me, since going through customs, immigration, getting my passport checked off, and getting my citizenship ID, and getting all my luggage to my next flight was very time consuming and got me a bit of a I wouldn't say anxiety attack, but more of like a shock, just trying to race the clock to get to my next flight. But I still made it and got into my next flight and was off to Tokyo. It was a lot shorter. It was about 2 hours. It was about a 2.5 hour trip. So the standard flight I was usually experiencing for flying. So landed in Tokyo. It was nighttime, and I met up with the group I was going to be joining with at the university with a bunch of other students studying abroad. We hit it off. We got a bit talking, and we were on our. Before we head off to the university, since it was nighttime, we booked a one night at the hotel and just decided to check out the city a bit before we went there. And man, the room was small in the hotel. I mean, like, this room right here is like, it's already like 5 times the size of the hotel room. Just picture this. Think of your office, like like your average size office room or cubicle, whatever. Just think of that, and that's the main room where your bed is. That's how big the room is, other than a very slim and small hallway with one door leading to the bathroom, and that's it. That I have never seen a much smaller room in all my life. And for what it was still snug, at least. So, got my night's rest. I was trying to get ready to adjust to the time zone difference so that I wouldn't be able to have any difficulty with contacting my family when the time came. So, morning came. Got up with a bunch of other students that were up, and we decided to get something to eat, see the town more, check out the train station we came from. Oh yeah, we took a subway from our airport all the way to our hotel. It was fun. So yeah, we checked out the town a bit, got a bit of stuff to eat. Then, when we all got together later close to noon, we booked our bus to get us to Nagasaki, which is currently where I am. So it was 2 hours later, we're finally at our new university, checking out our dorms, going through long orientations. I'll skip over the orientations. That's pretty boring stuff. Nobody wants to hear that. So orientation over. I got my key, did my dorm, and got them set up right where you see right now. This is my dorm, which I can tell you more, but don't want to move the camera. So, got myself situated here. Spent about the next couple of days of orientation and opening ceremonies, and then the weekend came and decided to look around Nagasaki. One of the prefectures in Nagasaki. It's pretty much different than states in America, but I digress. But got to see, like, trying to familiarize myself with the town, see where to go when I needed something, what I wanted to do, just make sure I kept time, do something other than waste my time here in my room or in the dorm. Just trying to find something to do, and I had a lot to do with the other students here. We went out to a couple of bars, checked out places to drink, checked out a couple of shopping districts, which were pretty big, and I actually liked enjoying seeing. And my God, the arcades were so different to us and so much fun. So yeah, American arcades non-existent, but the arcades I was seeing in Japan, the majority of them are nothing but crane machines and pachinko machines. My God, I never thought I'd seen any more cash grabbing things than that, and just wanting you to waste your money. And most of the pachinko machines are there just to make you win. There's really no reward than just making you the satisfaction that you're winning stuff. Some give you medals, like for prizes and everything, or just to keep playing more pachinko machines. It was a major time waster, I believed. But what I was really there for was trying to find, like, the traditional arcade machines, like fighting games and all that. There aren't that many other than Sopoken, which was, of course, pretty relevant at least right now. But the one game I would wanted to find was these. Let me get these, grab these. So we get these going. One game I wanted to try out the most, well, one of two, was these Dragon Ball Heroes. If you don't even know who that is, it's basically a card game that you play on the arcade machine. And once you play, it dispenses one of these cards that you can use as your playable character. You have the description on the back, which I can't read at the moment since I'm still learning Japanese. But yeah, you can have a full team of 5, and it's basically the ultimate Dragon Ball fan. Oh, drop from the cards. Sorry. But yeah, it's like one of the ultimate fan service things in Dragon Ball you can think of. If you haven't heard about, check it out. There's a couple of videos on YouTube I can find. It's pretty long for me to describe. Alright. So yeah. Alright, so continuing. Decided went to a shopping district, checked out the harbor, some of the local areas around here, some landmarks. Wanted to try to climb up a mountain, but I'll get to that later. And other than that, the next week after that, it was pretty agonizing. But so, week 1 ended with me just mostly traveling about Nagasaki, familiarizing myself with the territory, and getting to know some of the students and actually trying to make some friends. So yeah, week 2 comes by, and that's when I finally got the internet. Oh my god, the internet here, it's terrible. If some of you have seen my reaction to one of the recent death battles I did, blame the internet on that. I have no idea what happened on how it froze up the video. Maybe it's something to do with the lagging, the internet server. Basically, when there's too many people on the server, on this internet, it pretty much starts freezing up on processing stuff. So that's why I try to do these late at night when most people are asleep and have their internet off. So if I sound trying too quiet during these times, there's one reason why I'll just for future reference. But yeah, while the most part I got my phone on the internet, the laptop was my major issue. 5 days without the majority of my internet access that I couldn't do on my phone. And the one thing that ticked me off the most was I had to get them my MAC address, and I was off by 1 letter. I was 1 letter off for 5 days. I couldn't have internet because of that simple mistake, and I still hated myself for that. But yeah, after that, things kept on going more smoothly. Again, more orientation, but then we started registering myself for classes. Again, more boring stuff right there. And started exploring a lot more. I mean, going to the bars. Did karaoke for the first time, and it's fun. It's not all Japanese, if that's what you're thinking. They have some English songs, of course, mostly for the tourists. And oh yeah, there's one thing I should explain. The buses there can get cramped, and if it's the stereotype there, or not something I'm not hearing about, it can get cramped, especially at night with people coming home from work. But the one thing I found the most fun while riding them was the rail cars. Basically, think of the equivalent of like, God, what are this? The cable cars in California, like San Francisco, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm not getting the right one. Or cable cars, rail cars, but wherever. Trolleys, those things. They have them here in Japan, and they pretty much follow the same guidelines as any cars or rules of the road as cars. So they stop when there's a stoplight, or when there's interchanging lanes or crossing and all that. Most of that stuff, since it's on, but it's on a predetermined path, being on a railway. So yeah. What else? Oh yeah. I've seen a couple of shows here and there during last week. Finally got to see some Super Sentai, where the original Power Rangers came from, with the source materials from. Also some Kamen Rider And if you don't know, look up Seiya Tasanshiro. He was one of the original actors for Kamen Rider, and it's pretty interesting, I'll say that, even though I still can't understand them. But it was also that week that I started to fully understand the time differences of 14 hours. Basically, night here would be morning back home. And it's getting good. And I think I found it pretty convenient. So, like when I'm asleep, my family and friends would be out working during the afternoon. And when I wake up in the morning, everybody would be home at night. So I found it pretty convenient. And when everyone's asleep back home, I'd be in classes or doing something busy during the afternoon. So it's pretty convenient that time differences work out for most of us. And I think I could just go on to the next part. So to top off that second week was we were going on a trip to Unzen, another part of Japan, or close to Unzen. I can't remember the specific prefecture, but there was a mountain that had a volcano that erupted and had something called pyroclasms over the course of 3 years, and I got to see the remains of this volcano and the town that got affected by it. I even got to see a couple of ruins and houses that were submerged in ash and the buildings that were destroyed, and got a bit of the history on this volcano. It's pretty interesting. I can't remember the name. I'll look it up in the future, and if I do, I might link it for you guys to check out. So, got to see the volcano. Then after we got to see the town, we were continuing our travels, and we see some other landmarks near the area, like a Japanese lord's castle, which was pretty cool to look at, and some of the samurai houses that lived near the area during the time of shoguns, lords, and samurai. And then after that, we were on our way to a hot spring, which was the highlight of the trip. We were on our way to a hotel, but before we did all that, when we got to the hotel, we were going to have dinner, but we wanted to get ourselves familiarized with the people in the program. And it's basically those trust or team building exercises and getting to know all the other students. It's basic exercises that you maybe may have done in high school just to get to know the student body. And after that, dinner time, and then we spent our time just doing what everyone in the hotel, just play games, karaoke. But the one thing I wanted to do the most was hot springs, and this was one of the big things I wanted to do when I got here. So, hot springs. This is how they do. Basically, the hot springs here are public baths. The public baths here basically means you bathe naked with everyone else. It's not as awkward or disturbing as you think. It's like any other hot spring or hot tub you might have gone to. But the first thing you gotta do when you go to an open bath, you gotta wash yourself or shower yourself first before you get into the hot springs. That way you get rid of all the violet and all that. It's customs. It was awkward at first just seeing all naked men. I'm not gonna go into details, because but what do I think about the hot springs themselves? Much like any other resort that has like your sauna, your massages, the hot springs themselves, very soothing. The waters themselves made you feel like it's cleansing all your worries away, and it just makes you feel relaxed, comfortable. My only complaint? It's pure rock I'm sitting on, and not like smoothed out rock, jagged, rough rocks that have been slowly eroded. And another thing you gotta get used to is you'll be constantly seeing some vents that use hot spring water. And if you guys know what sulfur is, get ready for the biggest stink of your life. Okay. Then the next day after that, when we were about to leave, we had one thing left to do, and that was climb the type of a mountain that resided next to the volcano. And the climb up was pretty high. Most of the trip we took our bus to get to the base of the ropeway to get to the top of the volcano. And the sight was unbelievable. I could see for miles on miles and miles of all Japan I could see. Most of it was obscured by the clouds, but that's kind of given. And it wasn't as windy as I thought it would be being on top of a volcano. I mean, not a volcano, a mountain. I could see a lot of seas, many of the towns, many more mountains. It was cool. I think the cool thing that I found when I realized when I was there on that mountain is that the village we were in for the trip was on the mountain. It makes me think that there were so many things that could be just on top of a mountain and I would never know, and it would just be like, it's kind of like a secret hidden village. It just, the way my brain works, it's just very interesting. But now, it was also interesting that they had a whole golf course on the top of this mountain as well. Now, it was close to the base of the ropeway too, that I think about it, but the things you see when you're on top of a mountain is very mesmerizing. They also have a bit of a Shinto shrine at the top of the mountain too, like I think for people who are going on a journey or something, or just wanted to see the sights. I took the rope tramway up the mountain, and I climbed my way down, and my legs were very sore when I got to the bottom. Then after our trip up the mountain, we were on our way to a town called Obama. Yes, there is a town in Japan called Obama. There's actually 2 towns in all of Japan called Obama, which translates to small beach. And ironically, there was a statue of Obama in the town of Obama. The history was, as I was told, was that the statue was made right after he was made president, and they knew because of the tourist attractions that they were going to have coming into Japan, they were going to make a statue, and the statue itself is really creepy, much creepier than Obama himself. And if you're watching Obama, I'm sorry to say that. Anyway, this was the last part of our trip, so we got lunch here, we took a look at the town. I didn't see much, but the one thing I wanted to see was the foot bath. This was also using hot spring water, and it's the longest foot bath in Japan, about 105 meters long. So basically, much like a hot springs, you just dip in and relax yourself. And this one's mostly for your feet, of course. And it is 105 degrees Fahrenheit when you dip those feet in, so it gets a lot used to, but it makes your feet so soft and it's so relaxing once you dip them in. And much like the hot springs, I couldn't feel more relaxing. And because when I was mostly walking in Japan for my first week, I grew a couple blisters that popped, and I was sore for a couple days once that happened. They've been healing ever since, but once I put my feet in the water, they were so relaxed, and I could feel like I could finally walk on that foot proper again without trying to move it in a certain way so that I didn't feel the sores. So that helped a lot. And after we went to the foot baths, we traveled back here to the dorms, got ready for our next day of just lazing about, and then the next day, like today, our first day of classes. And this is pretty much current time right now. Since I've only had one class today, but most of my classes are going to be on Fridays. The irony. The one thing you never want your classes to be on is on a Friday when you start your weekend. And my classes go from 9 to 6. And it is going to be a very, very long day for me on those days, as each class is an hour and a half long. I think the most difficult thing for me is that since it's required to take Japanese in here this course, this university, I've had a tendency to not look previously studied on my Japanese when I go to the next semester in my Japanese courses. And it takes for me a couple of days or weeks for me to get steadily back into the groove of things. While that may happen again, I'm just kind of worried, since while I'll be going over things I've learned before, I'll also be doing that and twice as much than I did back at my home university, and it kind of gets me a bit worried, but that's, I guess, normal. For me, I just get too worried about things, and I always come back in the end sooner than ever. And I aced all my Japanese courses before. I'm more of a reader and an interpreter than I am a speaker of Japanese. And that's where I finally found my strength when it comes to these. So, and that's pretty much all I have to say. There's really nothing else I can think about. The only thing I know of is that many of the things I brought with me will not work in Japan unless I have a adapter to connect to my things. Thankfully, my lamp here is working, and some of my things can still fit in Japanese outlets, but also some of my apps on my phone will not work in Japan because I'm on a Japanese internet. So that's another thing I have to get used to. And also talking to so many of my friends online is going to be tough with the time differences. But there's just many worries I have when I'm here. But I'm constantly being supported by my friends and family back home almost every day and telling me how great of accomplishment I'm doing. It's gonna get tough the next couple weeks, and I may even go through a couple of hardships, mostly culture shock if it comes down to it. I haven't gone through any denials or depressional states lately of being away from home. I've been away from college, but normally when I went to college, I usually go home for the weekends. But now I'm here in Japan for 4 months. It's going to be a bit of an endurance for me without seeing my friends or family in front of me. I think that's the biggest challenge to anybody who's looking to study abroad for a semester, is to get used to being away from your friends and family. But never forget that they're always there for you. They'll always find a way to contact you and let you know of how proud they are of you, of your accomplishments of getting this far. I've done it, and I've still got a long way to go. I don't know what will happen these next couple of weeks when I continue these vlogs, but I'm hoping that things get better in the end. I just hope that these vlogs don't become as long as this one was, but I just had to make up for the time I missed out from last week of trying to record. But anyway, this is the end of this vlog, and I guess that's it. If you want to know anything else, just leave a comment in the comment section down below of what you want me to talk about next time for a vlog, and I'll see you next week for another vlog. So until next time, take care everyone, and wish me some luck here. I could really use it.